Three, two, one.
What's up? Welcome back to Brian and Dylan Take on the World. I am your host, co-host, Dylan, accompanied by my good pal, my comrade, Brian.
Hey, everybody. What is up? How's it going?
What's up? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. How can,
the 90s?
Can you forget? Remember the 90s, everyone? All right. So, Dylan, what are we talking about today?
Today we're doing the summer 2019 movie preview. This is the episode, this is what people stick around for. They deal with what's bad. They stick around for this, for the good.
Yeah, and this time there's no Solo on the docket to kill the podcast.
Sure isn't.
Like last year. And I'm not going to be getting lost in the woods of Maine directly after recording this podcast to also derail it. So I think we're on a good pace this year.
Correct. Yeah. So very exciting. It's a very up and down summer. To say the least, but there's a couple very big movies I think a lot of people are looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to discussing with you.
Yeah, so I guess just right off the top, what do you think of this lineup compared to last year? Where last year I think we both agreed it was pretty strong.
Yeah, no, it's so there's obviously the three big movies, Toy Story, Lion King, and Spider-Man. Those well, actually, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, can't forget that. Those are really the movies I'm like a Sherlock really looking forward to, really putting all my bet in the house on. Then I think they're going to be pretty great. And then after that, no, I don't know. I remember last summer being like a really heavy. I feel like every other weekend I was at the movie theater. So we'll see. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna go weekend by weekend, and we're gonna kind of just rate it by see it or skip it.
Right.
And we'll go from there. No, I guess first, before we get into that, how you been? How you been doing since we last talked about Game of Thrones?
I've been doing good, just trying to keep busy with the channel, trying to make stuff, trying to forget all about Game of Thrones as much as possible. I watched the first episode of Chernobyl, which was a good palate cleanser, I feel like, for the end of Game of Thrones. I'm looking forward to watching that as a whole because I know a lot of people online really enjoyed it. And other than that, I've really been using the AMC, what is it, Stubs? A-List? Whatever.
A-List, baby.
That is the best investment I've ever made. I know you tried to talk me into it for literally like a year before I finally actually bought it. But yeah, man, it's been really great to use. I've seen Aladdin. I saw Detective Pikachu last night. Both I really enjoyed. I thought Aladdin for me was probably my favorite live action remake of the Disney movies they've done so far. We'll see how Lion King, works in there. But how about you? What have you been up to?
So in case you guys can tell, I'm no longer recording on the $20 mic I had. Your boy went and bought himself a blue mic, Snowball. And so if you hear all the mumbles and grumbles coming from me today, that's because this mic is high tech, baby. Shout out to Brian Wong. He's number one fan of the pod. Mm-hmm. His number one complaint from our Game of Thrones episode was that the quality was all over the place. And to that I say, Brian Wong, thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I think that had a lot to do with having three people record and having you and Tamar's audio going through the same track on my end. So like where your mic was a little quieter, Tamar's was a little louder, and I was having a really hard time balancing it in live time, and I even went back and tried to edit it. So I think I'll figure that out in the future, but with a new mic for you and with just the two of us recording, we shouldn't have those problems going forward.
I also think the big thing from our Game of Thrones episode 2 was that I forgot to pay Xfinity. And so my wireless internet connection going in and out was due to the fact that I was several days late paying Xfinity. So they were jamming the connection. They were trying to bring down the pod, but I stuck it to them, and I paid that bill, and here we are now. So we're back.
Right. Yeah, you showed them by giving them money.
Fuck Xfinity.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, Dylan, are you ready to talk about what this summer has in store for us?
Yeah, man. Let's bring it. To kind of start off, to really what we're going to go through this is kind of, I would say some of the summer movies have already kicked off. Obviously, we have things like Detective Pikachu, Aladdin.
Right.
I saw Rocket Man.
Ooh, how was that?
It was great. It was I thought far and away better than Bohemian Rhapsody. It was
Ooh,
like
shots.
uh, um it was like a much better version of Across the Universe where
Oh,
like
okay, yeah, yeah.
they used the songs to like drive the story, which I thought was great. Taron Egerton was fucking lights out
Yeah,
as Elton
he's a
John.
really good actor, I feel.
Yeah. Other than Endgame, it's probably my favorite movie of the year so far. I think it's going to for sure be the an Oscar contender at the end of the year. The combination of being a biopic about a rock star, which people just love apparently,
Oh yeah.
and also having a little music mixed into it.
Yeah, and Elton John's music, I feel like, is so good. It's just
Oh, awesome, awesome! Yeah, and this is a movie where Elton John helped produce it, and I think you'd be surprised where like Elton John did not hold back about his life.
that's
Everything
cool.
good,
Yeah.
everything good, bad, sad is in it, and I didn't know much about Elton John, so I highly recommend it to anybody that likes musicals, movies. Like I love both, so I give Rocket Man a 92 out of 100.
Oh, very nice. I would definitely have to see that as soon as possible. Rob Stark's in it too, right?
Sure is. He does a pretty good job in his role.
Yeah, always good to see him. Back from
Funny
back from
enough,
Zed.
Littlefinger played the same character in Bohemian Rhapsody that Rob Stark plays in
Oh,
Rocket Man.
the actual like same real life person.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's hilarious.
that's sort of interesting, and it's two very different portrayals to say the
Right.
least.
Right. All right, man. Well, I will definitely check that out, and by the next time we record, I'll have my little 2 cents to add to that.
Yeah, so basically the criteria for all this is going to be movies that are running basically through now through the end of August. September 1st / like Labor Day weekend is kind of like the cutoff for me.
Right.
And there's a big movie that comes out with the first week of September, which I unfortunately did not include in this list because I guess we'll save that for the fall preview. But first up on the docket, we have two movies coming out this weekend.
Yes.
The first is Men in Black International, starring Tessa Thompson, Chris Hemsworth, Rebecca Ferguson, Emma Thompson, and Liam Neeson, and can't forget Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh yes.
It's a reboot / sort of sequel, I suppose. To
Yeah, I wonder.
other Men in Blacks.
I wonder what the real like. Is this in the same universe? Are we just starting new? Is it gonna reference it? We don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But I think putting Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson together just one of the smartest things. It could be in like any movie together, and I'm gonna be interested in seeing it.
For sure. I think that one of the big things that kind of sticks out to me with Men in Black is that the review embargo seemingly has not been lifted yet, with less than a week to go until the movie comes out. No, it never is. So especially with reboots like this, even when they have the star power, it's directed by F. Gary Gary, who's directed some movies for sure. You would think that if it's good, they're just going to release the ratings early. Like a movie we're going to be talking about in a little while comes out in the middle of August, and their embargo was lifted like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say see it, just because I'm gonna see it. Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. That's Kumail Nanjiani. That's pretty much the only reason I'm really in it.
Right.
I'm not too big of a Men in Black stan. Obviously, I love the first one. I also didn't really mind the third one, which seemingly a lot of people hate, with Josh Brolin.
I liked Jermaine Clement as the bad guy in that one. Thought he did
Yeah.
a good job.
But
maybe
apparently
that's
it
my
was
Flight
not,
of the Conchords bias. I don't know.
for sure. It was not loved by a lot of other people. So
No.
I'm gonna say see it, just so we start this list off on the right note.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't imagine it being like unwatchable with the talent they have. So see it, man. Why not?
Another movie that, I mean, it's a thing where you can't let special effects drive. You need a solid story too. Is like Godzilla. Godzilla was a great action movie, and otherwise a terribly written movie, which I give like a 65 out of 100. I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was awful. It was just it was like a slightly below average movie.
Right.
I could see Men in Black. I could see this movie potentially being either very, very bad or slipping somewhere in between like the high 70s, low 80s range if it ends up being surprisingly good.
That makes sense. So what about Shaft? What do you think?
Yeah. So another movie coming out this weekend is Shaft. I never saw the original Shaft, the movie or the TV show.
Mhm.
I'm aware of it. I'm also aware that Samuel L. Jackson's the man, and that I probably 90% of the movies I've seen in my lifetime have had Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Yeah, is he like the highest grossing actor of all time? Is that accurate? Or did I
I
hear
think he
that somewhere?
is. I
Yeah.
mean, he's in like basically like every major franchise
Hmm.
other than Lord of the Rings. So
Right, right.
that totally makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this movie for sure. I like Samuel L. Jackson. I'm gonna say for me, I'm gonna see this movie.
Yeah, so the description of it is John Shaft Jr., a cybersecurity expert with a degree from MIT, enlists his family's help to uncover the truth behind his best friend's untimely death. And the whole thing with the Shaft movie that had Samuel L. Jackson is that he was John Shaft the second. Richard Roundtree was John Shaft the first, which was Shaft the TV show.
The Shaft, yeah.
And Jesse T. Usher is the John Shaft Jr., son of Samuel Jackson in this movie.
Mm.
So it's kind of like it's a generational movie, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
You might know Jesse T. Usher from the Independence Day Resurgence or whatever it was movie. Not great. But
Yeah, that was
he
not great.
seems like he can be funny in this. I'm gonna say skip it. I guess if I'm choosing between this and Men in Black, I'm probably choosing Men in Black.
Mm-hmm.
But I same thing. I can see this movie potentially being awful, and I can see this movie potentially being like an 80s, mid 80s, low high 70s range. Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows
no,
the movies?
that's the thing.
All,
Hard to call.
all I know is, of course, the first two movies we've named are how do we say, they're cinematic universe type movies. That's not the correct word. They're franchises. That's the correct word.
Marvel has us all messed up.
I didn't take my smelling salts before this. So
You get amped up.
late to. But I got my speaking of our first sponsor of the pod. You hear that? That's first sponsor, Bud Light. If it ain't Bud, then it's something else.
Right. It's not right. Bud Light. So I think we nailed that, Reed. I don't see why advertisers don't advertise on our podcast after that.
Correct. Yeah. Bud Light, drink it. It's Bud Light.
Oh,
So,
man.
all right, on to next weekend, which is actually a pretty big weekend. And I am sort of interested in all these movies. We're going to start off with our first mega movie of the summer that we're going to talk about today, Toy Story 4.
Yeah, this
which
is
will
gonna
be
make
released
a fuck
on
ton of money.
June 21st. We all know Toy Story. Speaking of franchises, this is our third franchise in a row that we're going to talk about. When a new toy called Forky joins Woody and the gang, a road trip alongside old and new friends reveals how big the world can be for a toy. Everything I've heard about this movie says that the cast all cried. I've heard that some of the early screenings, the people are like, it's the saddest, yet like happiest I've ever been watching a movie.
Okay.
I've also heard that Keanu Reeves' character, and he fucking crushes it with like everything he's in right now.
Keanu Reeves is having a moment right now.
He the 2 weeks he's having between John Wick 3, him announcing he's going to be in Cyberpunk
Oh my god,
as
dude.
like the character,
So excited.
hopefully a playable character. That's just absurd. And now I heard that he crushes it in Toy Story 4. Keanu Reeves, question: is there a more likable person currently in entertainment than
Oh,
Keanu
no.
Reeves?
Not right now.
Like a universally liked person, I can't think of anyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, and then there's also just like tons of like positive stories always about how nice of a guy he is.
I think if you survived, I shouldn't say survived, Me Too, but if you didn't go down in the Me Too movement for being a complete scumbag, odds are the stories about you being a good guy are probably true at this point.
Right.
And it seems like Keanu Reeves is one of the best up there. Obviously, also in this movie, Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Christina Hendricks, Jordan Peele, Timothy Dalton, Betty White, Mel Brooks, Keegan-Michael Key, Joan Cusack plays Jesse, who we all know. Yeah, this movie is obviously a see it for me.
Oh, yeah. Obviously.
I don't know if Toy Story is quite caught on with like my daughters too, and I tried showing a Toy Story the other day, and she was interested at first, but then because there was no songs, she was kind of out.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is obvious. Like Toy Story 3 is on the theater. One of the first movies I actually ever saw by myself in a movie theater was Toy Story 3. And so yeah, big time see it. This is like a see it exclamation point see it. There's I assume we both have the same answer.
Oh yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Toy Story? Like, it's impossible. It's especially after how they just completely crushed Toy Story 3. Like, I have so much faith in this team to deliver a really great experience with Toy Story 4.
I guess some of the worry is, and you saw it with something like Game of Thrones, is that maybe expectations are too high, and one small hiccup could bring down the whole thing. Which with Pixar especially, I really, really, really have a hard time thinking that Pixar can really screw anything up at this point.
Right.
Not on the run they're on. I think their last movie was Coco, and Coco might be my all-time favorite Pixar movie. So, yeah. Toy Story 4, see it times 1,000.
Absolutely. All right. So, is the next movie's also about a toy?
Yeah, another toy whose promotional art has all been killing the toys from Toy Story.
Yeah, that was actually a really great marketing campaign.
No, so this is interesting. So the movie we're bringing up that also comes out next weekend is Child's Play. Normally this is like probably a big time skip it, just because I don't even really remember any of the Child's Play actually being good, like Seed of Chucky and all that. I don't really remember them being good. I just remember them just being absurd, and it was like a typical thing when you're like 12, 13, even maybe like 10, 11. You're like, you're watching a rated R movie, this fucking weird toy, hilarious. But as I've seen the one when I get older, I'm like, these are like straight awful.
Right.
But Child's Play, a mother gives her son a toy doll for his birthday, unaware of its more sinister nature. And this is where it gets interesting, starring Aubrey Plaza, Brian Tyree Henry, who is one of my favorite actors right now. His big show is Atlanta. He's been in several other things, including Widows, which he fucking crushes it in.
Right.
But the big star, obviously, here is that Mark Hamill's voicing Chucky, which is probably the thing that's going to end up causing me to rule this as see it with a exclamation point next to it.
Right.
And that's because, regardless of Mark Hamill being in it, I think that this has the potential to be an awful, awful movie. But let's see. I also thought the same thing about It when it came out 2 years ago, and it ended up being like one of my favorite horror movies ever. I love the It reboot, and I literally cannot wait for it to come out this fall.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what to really make of this movie, but I think I'm ruling see it because of Mark Hamill.
Yeah. So I think for me, lately, horror movies have felt like either they're amazing, really like game changing, like style movies, or they're just bottom of the barrel, like the worst things I've seen in a long time. And I am afraid that Child's Play is going to be to that lower end of movies. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. And there's going to be another one coming up soon that we're going to be talking about that I kind of rule under the same context as
that franchise, that whole cinematic universe is kind of what I'm talking about when I say more bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Shitty horror movies. Yeah, so for me, I probably won't see Child's Play. So for me, it's a skip it, but I guess if you really like horror right now, this is not the time of the year where a ton of horror movies come out. So this could be your cup of tea.
No, I mean, I'm pretty much right there with you. I can see and I put a question mark next to see it because I can see the reviews coming out for this the day before. And thanks to AMC A-List, I have the ability to cancel my ticket at any time.
Right.
With no charges to me. Shout out to AMC A-List, sponsor the pod.
One day they will, because we're just going to keep talking them up.
Yeah. So we're pretty much on the same page. I guess this is a couple like really bad reviews for this, and I'm probably skipping it and just catching Mark Hamill's lines on YouTube.
Yeah, maybe see like a compilation of the craziest kills in the movie or something.
Yep.
Way after the DVD comes out. Yeah. So what is our next movie?
All right, so also coming out next weekend, this is another super interesting movie to me, and it's really kind of like the story of this summer. We have Anna or Anna, however you want to. I don't know, she's kind of Russian, so I think Anna might be the proper way to announce it. But Anna, beneath Anna Pilotova's striking beauty lies a secret that will unleash her indelible. I'm not a good reader. Strength and skill to become one of the most feared government assassins. I'm kind of like, I'm not like, I don't know. I saw this guy directed Lucy, the same director, Luke Benson. I wasn't, or he wrote and directed Lucy. Wasn't like the too big of a fan of Lucy. He wrote Leon the Professional, which is a great movie. I've only seen it once, but it was one of those movies you see it once and you're like blown away. That came out in 1994, and that also has like a young Natalie Portman in it, which I think is what caused her to really take off.
Right.
And he also wrote The Fifth Element, which is like it kind of has its own cult following as a sci-fi movie.
I really like The Fifth Element.
So have you seen a trailer for Anna?
I only saw a trailer this weekend when I was watching the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Then I was like, "What is this? This looks cool."
Yeah, no. So in the trailer, Anna, played by Sasha Luss, she kicks ass.
Right. Yeah.
In the one in the movie theater, I've seen it. I've seen the trailer in the movie theater probably like 3 times now, and each time I'm like, the action's really fucking cool. And the whole premise is that she's a ballet dancer. She's like strikingly beautiful, and she's also incredibly lethal. It also stars Helen Mirren, Luke Evans, Cillian Murphy. I'm saying see it. I'm saying see it confidently without a question mark, and almost on the reverse of Chucky. This might be a movie I try to completely avoid any reviews for and go into it with an open mind, which in my opinion is the best way to see a movie, but also there wouldn't be many podcasts or blogs out if that was the case, and so I can't fully support that. But yeah, I'm gonna rule see this because I think it has the potential to be a really cool action movie, which if an action movie done right, as we see in the past 2 years, I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll just say see it too, just based on that one trailer, because yeah, I don't know. When I saw the trailer, just my reptilian brain was like, "Whoa, cool violence! I like this."
Yeah, it's sitting at 2 hours almost exact. It's at an hour and 59 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
So you're not investing too much time with AMC. Shout out AMC A-List, love you guys. You're sitting in that seat for about a half hour, 45 minutes before the movie even starts. But once the movie starts, it's only 2 hours.
Right.
So yeah, see it. Cool. I'm glad we're both on the same page there. Next,
I think we'll be on the same page as this one too.
Coming out June 26th, which is your co-host's birthday. He will be turning the big 26.
26 on 26. That's got to be good, right?
I suppose. Annabelle Comes Home. Another franchise we got going here. Annabelle Comes Home, the sequel to Annabelle, part of the Conjuring universe, the Nun and all that other great movies.
I feel like they're all just based on people being like, "Oh, The Conjuring wasn't too bad, right?" And then they're just like, "Yeah, let's make a whole cinematic universe around it."
It's tough because the first Conjuring was really, really good. I thought the second one was okay, and then I thought Annabelle was complete shit.
It's really been a lot of
I didn't even bother seeing the Nun. I don't know. I'm gonna end up saying skip it because this movie I'm almost all but confident this movie can end up being complete shit.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
It seems like this is the type of franchise that's really, really banging off their first movie's success. Even like Patrick Wilson's in this movie, Vera Farmiga, as Lorraine and Ed Warren. Yeah, skip it. And so far, I think, what have we done? Is this our third horror movie or second? Either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm skipping this.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna skip it too. I think the more fascinating thing about Annabelle is like the quote unquote real life doll is like a Raggedy Ann doll, but they were like, okay, that's really dumb, so we need to make a creepy wooden doll.
I think I even wrote in the notes for this episode, I said Annabelle Comes Home. I don't give a fuck.
That is exactly what you wrote on the notes you sent me, and I agree.
Yeah. So skip it.
Right.
Which is nothing else to really say there.
No.
Next, a movie I was kind of excited for until the reviews came out, and I'm like I said
Oh
before,
no, I haven't
if I
seen the
can
reviews yet. No.
if I can avoid reviews, I would, but it's really tough this day and age. Yesterday, a struggling musician realizes he's the only person on Earth who can remember the Beatles after waking up in an alternative timeline where they never existed. This is directed by Danny Boyle. I would argue a top 10 director out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Danny Boyle, obviously, he did Slumdog Millionaire, which was his colossal movie. 127 hours, 28 days later.
28 Days Later, honestly, one of the all-time best horror movies ever made. It's
so good. Also, it's so independent.
Mm-hmm.
Such a super independent movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way it's shot. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, I guess right now, it's sitting at 6.3 in IMDb.
It's not horrible.
Not horrible, but I was kind of like, when I first saw the trailer for this, I was really like, oh, this is going to be a movie that's going to win over a lot of people.
Mm.
And as we explained before, the whole premise is that Jack Malik, who's played by Hamish Patel, he wakes up one day and just nobody knows who the Beatles were. Nobody remembers them other than him. And I think the whole premise, he starts playing their songs and all that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I might end up skipping this.
Yeah, I mean, if the reviews are really not great, probably. But if I had to choose between Annabelle and Yesterday, and I had to see a movie, I would pick Yesterday.
So it's also really tough because if I say see it ? With Child's Play, and I say skip it with Yesterday, that just seems like very, very like there's no science behind that.
Well, I mean, would you see Yesterday if Mark Hamill was in it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Mark Hamill.
if he was voicing his guitar, you'd 100% see it.
So you know what? I'm gonna rule this as a see it ?
Okay.
And I think if we get closer to the end of this month and the reviews start to get like pretty bad, I'm probably will skip it. But for now, because I was interested before and it's only fair, yeah, I'm gonna say see it ?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'll see it, especially if I had to choose between the two from that weekend.
All right, buddy. On to another big one, which I think everyone's looking forward to.
Yes, especially after Endgame.
Yeah, July 2nd, Spider-Man: Far From Home. No real explanation needed, but following the events of Avengers: Endgame, Spider-Man must step up to take on the new threats in a world that has changed forever. Starring Tom Holland, who's my Spider-Man, Zendaya, Jake Gyllenhaal, the God, Samuel L. Jackson, Colby Smulders, Jon Favreau, Marissa Tomei. Obviously see it.
Yeah.
This is on the same. This is above Toy Story 4 for me. This is I'll probably see this 2 or 3 times in the theaters. I'm on vacation all of 4th of July week. I'm actually going to a 9:30 showing in the morning at AMC.
Okay.
The Tuesday this comes out. Which, hey buddy, you want to come with me? There's some seats left.
9:30 AMC. Yeah, send me the info after the pod.
Yeah, I found out AMC dine-ins, they don't do breakfast, which kind of sucks, but I will be there at 9:30 right when the doors open. Yeah, I mean, what is there really to say about this? You saw Endgame. You know how everything that built up to this movie. Spider-Man alone, Spider-Man carries the star power. I'd argue Spider-Man's the biggest star in the MCU. Just on name alone.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking about the Endgame, I think I'd said that the biggest moment in that end battle, spoilers for Endgame, I'm really sorry if you haven't seen it yet, if you're the one person who hasn't seen it and also listens to the podcast, when he came on screen at the end, he got the biggest pop from the audience.
Yeah,
people love Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's tough. There's really not much more to say. It's Spider-Man: Far From Home. John Watts is directing and also did Homecoming. I don't really have to really pitch anyone anymore on this.
And we're getting Mysterio in a live action Spider-Man movie.
Played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
By Jake fucking Gyllenhaal.
This is the type of thing where I'd be shocked. This is the movie. This is like other than another movie which reviews is already out, this is a movie I'm probably banking the house the most that this movie is going to be pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt. I have no worry. This is gonna be dope. Homecoming was awesome. This is just gonna keep chugging along for the MCU. You know.
Yep, for sure.
So I think we're both saying see it is what we're
Oh,
getting at.
no, skip it. Fuck
Yeah,
this
skip.
movie.
Just don't even bother. Spider-Man, superheroes. Who cares? No one even likes superheroes. No, yeah, we're obviously see this movie.
Next up, which comes out the same day, Midsommar, directed by Ari Aster, who directed one of my favorite horror movies, arguably one of my favorite movies of the past, I don't know, 5 years, Hereditary, which I don't really think we talked about in the pod because I actually saw it for the first time on Halloween.
Right. I haven't seen it, so we definitely didn't talk about
Hereditary is one of the more like gut-wrenching, nerve-wracking, horrifying movies, while still at the same time being like smart. Me and my friend, we talk about this all the time. It's kind of Hereditary is part of that new horror genre that like it's like dramatic horror.
Right, like it's actually a good movie and also scary.
Which I found is like it's like my favorite type of horror now. It's arguably one of my favorite movie categories other than superhero movies and like just the old fashioned drama. But drama horror is like the scary movies that like get you thinking and like build up to it. That was for sure Hereditary. Hereditary fucked me up for like 2 days. Hereditary was unbelievable. I give Hereditary a 98 out of 100.
Oh wow! I'm really gonna see this.
Jesus. No, that high on it. Hereditary is unbelievable. I think Felicity Huffman should have been nominated for Best Actress. I think.
Yeah, I heard that. People were sad that she wasn't. They think just because it was a horror movie, they probably didn't give her the nod.
Quick correction: Felicity Huffman was not in that movie. I'm thinking of the wrong Desperate Housewife. Just Toni Collette.
Toni Collette. I mean, you know, she could also get a nomination someday. We don't know, but Toni Collette. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I have no idea.
Yeah. Also, Toni Collette, not in Desperate Housewives, so I just fucked that up twice. So,
that's all right. That's all right. She's a really good actress. That's all that matters, and she deserved an Oscar nomination.
Keep that in the pod. This is the real show. We don't edit bloopers out like that. Okay. Yeah, so Midsommar, it's a couple travels to Sweden to visit a rural hometown's fabled Midsummer Festival. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into a increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. I'm see this.
Yeah, this sounds really cool.
Yeah, if you saw Hereditary, you get an idea of Ari Aster's directing. I would say probably the biggest star in this is Will Poulter, who was I don't know if you guys know who that is. He was the kid in We Are the Millers that like gets his balls bit.
Right.
I think he's in like The Maze Runner. I don't really watch those movies, but he's probably the biggest.
Those are fine.
Fine is
yeah,
I guess
exactly.
is acceptable these days. He's really the big star. There's a whole bunch of people in here who I have no idea who they are. I'm just going by this just purely just based on the director and just how much he just blew me away in Hereditary. Shout out to my friend Matthias, who he could be listening to this, he might not be, but he stuck by Hereditary until I saw it, and I'm so thankful that I did it because it's one of the best movies that, like I said, I've seen in the past 5 years. It was unbelievable.
Awesome. All right, so I think you're saying see this. I actually have not seen the trailer for this, so it's hard for me to say, but just based on how hyped you are for it, I'm gonna say see it. Because what else are you gonna do? If you haven't seen Spider-Man, you probably will see Spider-Man. But if you already seen Spider-Man, what else are you gonna see this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be on vacation this week too, so I'm easily gonna see 2 or 3 movies. So, all right. So now on to July 19th, we have arguably the biggest movie of the summer, the live action / CGI fuckfest that is Lion King 2019. I think we all obviously know about this.
Live action or animated in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. It looks like as real as you can get without having real lines and shit, which like just killing each other and eating the baboons and stuff. It would have been too real.
Yeah.
After the murder of his father, spoilers, a young lion prince flees his kingdom only to learn the true meaning of responsibility and bravery. Directed by Jon Favreau, who is one of my favorite people in Hollywood right now. There's just a lot of people people in Hollywood. Seth Rogen as Pumbaa. Donald Glover as Simba, who, speaking of favorite people in Hollywood, Donald Glover is probably my favorite entertainer right now between his music, his movies, his TV show. Atlanta is exceptional. Yeah, Donald Glover. And speaking of our Solo, fucking crushed it as Lando, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, he's perhaps the most talented man alive right now.
Not gonna get any debate by me. Chiwetel Ejiofor, I'm fucking him up. He was in 12 Years a Slave, which he was great in that. He plays Scar.
He was really, really good in that. Yeah.
James Earl Jones coming back as Mufasa.
Oh, you gotta bring him back.
I wonder how many of these are like lines he recorded in the animated movie. He's obviously old. He's got to be old as fuck. Let me see how old he is.
I'm gonna say at least in his 80s. I remember watching Doctor Strangelove. He's in that. That movie's old, so
88.
Yeah.
88. Ouch. You could kind of tell in Rogue One that like his Darth Vader lines, like he definitely he doesn't sound the same, but James Earl Jones maybe the most iconic voice in Hollywood, next to like Morgan Freeman. He plays Mufasa, obviously. Billy Eichner as Timon, which I think Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner together is super exciting.
Right.
I think that's a great casting, great duo to have together. Keegan-Michael Key as Kamari, Beyonce as Nala, Alfre Woodard as Sarabi, Amy Sedaris as Voice, doesn't have a role. John Candy as Rafiki, J.D. McCrary as young Simba, John Oliver as Zazu, which I'm also very much looking forward to, and Eric Andre as Azizi. I think this is like voice-wise, you can't ask for like a better lineup, honestly.
Even Eric Andre getting in there. I love Eric Andre, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So funny.
The hyenas were cast great.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously see it. This is another no-brainer. This is. We'll get onto it later. I think this movie has potential to have like a historic summer.
Yeah, see it for sure. The cast is unbelievable, and it looks great.
On to our next movie, which will be the weekend after, July 26th. This is without a doubt the movie I am most looking forward to this summer. I've been on top of this movie since I heard that Quentin Tarantino was directing it. That's obviously Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Timothy Olyphant, Dakota Fanning, Al Pacino, Damian Lewis, Luke Perry, Rip, Kurt Russell, Bruce Dern, Emile Hirsch, Margot Robbie. It's Quentin Tarantino. Quentin Tarantino will, if I was told I can only see one movie this summer, I'm picking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right. I think I would too, honestly.
It's sitting currently with a 9.7 on IMDb with almost 6,000 ratings, because this is the movie I referenced earlier that the embargo was basically lifted 2 months before the movie came out, which is almost unheard of, because it got a standing ovation at Cannes. And so, like, it's Tarantino, and it's Brad Pitt and Leo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie. Like, it's in the whole thing going on in the summer of '69 with Charles Manson set in the background of like an aging Hollywood movie star. This is probably like the most, between having Charles Manson, like a cult leader, slash somebody that inspired people to murder, Hollywood, and Tarantino. That's like my three favorite things: cults, Hollywood, and Tarantino. Right. Which is basically, I'm part of the Hollywood cult that is Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, I mean, if you started a cult, you'd be first day on the doorstep.
This is. See it for both of us, obviously.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can't miss a Tarantino movie, honestly. Like,
no,
he doesn't pump them out like too fast. He takes his time, so it gives you like enough time to miss him, and then he comes back and it's just always awesome. So,
I think according to him, this is his second to last movie he's going to direct, I
heard that.
With his final one apparently being his own Star Trek movie, which is like, that's like a whole mind fuck in its own. Tarantino's last movie is going to apparently be a Star Trek movie, not a sequel to the like Star Trek Into the Darkness and Beyond and all that. Yeah, this is going to be the movie for award season, and I literally can't wait. I have the highest of expectations. It would have to be a colossal failure to let me down. For like Tarantino to do any wrong, it would have to be awful. Like it would have to be like the worst piece of shit for me to even like be like, oh, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be bad.
I fully admit that I follow Tarantino blindly.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people didn't like The Hateful Eight. I loved it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's Tarantino. It's Leo. It's Brad Pitt. It's Margot Robbie. It's arguably I think it could be the greatest cast ever assembled.
Mm-hmm.
Timothy Olyphant, love him. Like he's great. Dakota Fanning, she's just been in our lives
with
forever.
a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah, she's playing Squeaky Fromm, who helped kill Sharon Tate. Well, my favorite theory of this movie though is that it's in a typical Tarantino way. It's in an alternate universe.
Right, so we don't actually know what's gonna happen.
Not really.
He killed Hitler, so.
Yeah, if you saw Glorious Bastards, clearly. Al Pacino, obviously, Luke Perry, Rip, Damian Lewis, who you would know from, I think it's Billions, and obviously Band of Brothers. Kurt Russell, Bruce Dern, Emile Hirsch. I literally can't wait. It's tough because it's 2.5 months away, but when it's here, man. This is a Thursday night movie that, for sure. I'll be there early.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, like you said, like you kept saying, Luke Perry, he passed away. It's really sad. I feel like this could have been like kind of a resurgence for him.
Sucks.
In his second half of his career.
Yeah, between this and Riverdale, yeah, sucks, but yeah.
Oh well, definitely a see it for both of us. What about The Weekend After?
Really brought down the mood there with that. The Weekend After. This is where things get real dicey. Here we have the ultimate brofest movie. This is the ultimate dudes are just gonna be there and fucking like affliction shirts with just like fucking cases of Red Bull. They're coming here to see this movie, just bro out with their bros. That's Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah. Was that the just dudes being guys or just whatever it is?
So it's tough because obviously, like, I love the Fast and Furious movies. I did not see the Fast. Is it 8? I think is the most recent one. Did not see it because I'm kind of like I'm out after Paul Walker was out. Cause it also just I didn't think 7 was that good.
Right.
I thought 5 is what saved the series. 5 is what like changed everything. It turned it. Fast 5 kind of like turned the series into what it is now, which is more of like an action-packed, like fight shoot 'em up type thing, as opposed to it had to do with cars. Which sure, I mean you have The Rock, you have Jason Statham. The technical, the synopsis of the movie is along with Luke Hobbs, who's played by The Rock, and Outcast Deckard Shaw, who's the bad guy from 2 movies ago, for an unlikely alliance with a cybergenetically enhanced villain threatens the future humanity, who is played by there's the ums again. Oh boy, Reddit's gonna get on that.
Idris Elba.
He's played by Idris Elba.
Yeah, Idris Elba, always awesome.
I don't know how I feel about this movie. I don't know if I'm gonna see it because I haven't even seen the last one. Same thing. I'm actually gonna say skip it? Where like if it gets really good reviews, I might find myself going to see it. But as of right now, I really don't think I plan on seeing this in the movie theater.
Oh, I mean, I've seen one Fast and the Furious movie ever. It was Fast and Furious, and Michelle Rodriguez, the only reason I watched it, died in like the first 20 minutes. And I was like, this sucks. And I've never watched another one. I know she's not dead anymore in that series, but yeah, I'm not a big Fast and Furious guy, so I'm gonna skip this one as well.
Yeah, I really don't think there's much more. It's a typical franchise that just they're gonna get milked down for like everything possible. Which
I still think this could make like $500 million this summer.
No, for sure. I think 500 is being like conservative.
Yeah, I don't know how much Vin Diesel not being in this, like, you know, the main Fast and the Furious cast not being in this one is going to affect it. But I mean, if you have to give up the whole cast for The Rock alone, I think that's a pretty good trade-off.
Yep.
I mean, everyone loves The Rock. He's definitely a box office draw in himself. But yeah, I'm going to say skip it. Sorry, Fast and the Furious fans. Just not my cup of tea.
All right, next up on August 9th, we have a group of teens face their fears in order to save their lives in the Guillermo del Toro written and produced movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, based on the book. Up until I just looked at their IMDb page, I also thought del Toro was directing this movie, which apparently he is not.
No, just producing.
Which surprised me because, like I said, I thought he was directing it, and so like my opinion now has slightly changed on it a little bit. The trailers I've seen, I've liked, so I'm actually going to say see it with a confident, without the question mark. I'm gonna see it because between now and the fall, there's not that many movies that are that great, apparently.
I think for me, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the book series, it's probably what set me on the path to be such a weirdo when I was in middle school. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't super excited to see this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really adored those books. I think there were two. There may have just been one. Regardless, the short stories were really creepy at the time. I don't know how they hold up now. I haven't read them, but I'm looking forward to this movie a lot, and I am definitely going to see it.
Oh, just dropped my...
That was like a mic drop. Perfect
my
timing.
It wouldn't be a pod without some Bud Light. If it ain't Bud Light, then it's either Bud or it's Bud Light Limes. Bud Light.
But
drink responsibly.
Knock over Bud Light on your podcasts. That's what we always say. All right, so what's the other movie coming out this weekend?
Hold on, I gotta open my next Bud Light. All right, next up, same weekend. This is another movie that I didn't really know too much about, but when I was going through
anything about this,
when I was going through doing my research, it caught my eye, and I said, "Oh, there's a couple people in this. I know them." That would be The Kitchen, which seems like it's just another Widows, but the wives of New York gangsters in Hell's Kitchen in the 1970s continue to operate their husbands' rackets after they're locked up in prison. This is starring Elizabeth Moss, Tiffany Haddish, Melissa McCarthy, Domhnall Gleeson, Common, James Badge Dale, who is just a guy you'll see and be like, oh, I know that guy. Directed by Andre Berloff.
Okay.
I'm gonna see it.
Really? All right.
Sure.
I probably won't. Granted, I don't know anything about this. I haven't even seen a trailer or heard it mentioned one time.
Yeah. It has an interesting premise. Like I said, it sounds a lot like Widows, which I love Widows. I thought Widows was great.
Right.
Yeah, I thought I got pretty snubbed at the award season, but sure, I'll see this. I think Tiffany Haddish is really like, she's basically in everything right now. She's the it girl. So, yeah, okay. But Melissa McCarthy's actually who I'm most looking forward to. Can You Ever Forgive Me, which she was nominated for an Oscar for. She was unbelievable in that movie. I think seeing her turn into a dramatic performance like that was eye-opening. I really showed that she's actually a legit actor, and she's not just known as the comedy heavy woman in movies actor. She actually acts her balls off in Can You Ever Forgive Me? And it was, not to keep preaching, one of my favorite movies, but it was one of my favorite movies of last year.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy's awesome.
And Elizabeth Moss was great in Mad Men. She was awesome in Us. I thought she was her playing her doppelganger in Us was great, and it was hilarious.
Right.
Yeah, see it. Sure. I don't want to question mark it. Fuck it, I'm going to see it.
All right, I'll probably not, but I'll skip it, and then you can tell me how it is, and then maybe I'll be like, oh, I guess I should have seen that.
All right. Well, we're starting to wind down. We're down to our final two movies. We are now on to August 14th. We have Blinded by the Light, which this is like a personal movie to me, and that's the only reason I put it in here. I ended up skipping over the Dora Explorer movie because I think that's kind of self-explanatory.
That's going to make $1 billion, Dylan. Why are we skipping that? No, yeah, I'm not going to fucking see that.
In 1987, during the austere days of Thatcher's Britain, fuck Margaret Thatcher. Fuck her. She hated the Irish. Fuck her. A teenager learns to live life, understand his family, and finds his own voice through the music of Bruce Springsteen. That's what catches me the most, because I love Bruce Springsteen. It was one of the One of the musical things that my dad passed down to me, it's kind of big in my family, is Springsteen. The trailer, it seems like it potentially is going to be a similar thing to Rocket Man and Across the Universe, where the music is going to like set the tone for the movie and set the scenes.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rocket Man's a biography. This is apparently a true story, and I also think that this is like the Broadway play that Bruce Springsteen did. If I could not be wrong, which, like, according to my dad, was awful. But I'm actually very much looking forward to this. It's going to be a movie that I will see, like, regardless of reviews, just because I love Bruce. So it's a see it for me, Blinded by the Light.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I'm sad about this coming out on the 14th of August is I feel like I've seen this trailer before every movie I've seen for the last 2 months, and I hope I'm not going to get tired of it, but it definitely caught my attention. I was planning on seeing it for sure.
All right, and now we are down to our final movie, which comes out on August 23rd. Angel Has Fallen.
Is this a sequel to, like, London Has Fallen and White House?
And
Olympus Has Fallen, yeah.
Correct.
Dude, this series is single-handedly keeping Gerard Butler's career alive.
Another franchise that, they're just gonna run until they can't run no more.
Have you seen these movies?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've never heard anyone talk about these movies. So tell me about them. Are they good?
First one came out in a year where, like, Olympus Has Fallen came out with White House Was Down came out in like a 2 2-month span.
Yeah, that was so weird.
I preferred Olympus Has Fallen just because the action was a little bit better and a little less goofy. This movie starring Gerard Butler, Morgan Freeman, Piper Perabo, Lance Reddick, Jada Pinkett Smith, Nick Nolte, Tim Blake Nelson. So there's a lot of people in this movie. The whole premise is Secret Service agent Mike Banning, who is played by Gerard Butler, is framed for the attempted assassination of the president and must evade his own agency and the FBI as he tries to uncover the real threat. This is a trailer that every time it comes on the movie theater, I kind of roll my eyes at how bad it looks. So this is a skip it for me. This is
a skip it for me too. I haven't seen any of them. I don't intend to.
Typical midsummer, end of summer action movie that they're throwing out there, so the studio can get a couple $100 million in. That's even being conservative.
Yeah.
That's being super good. That's being actually super liberal with that money. This is a skip it for me. Unless this is a hard skip it. No, this is a hard skip it. Unless, like, I have nothing to do and, like, my family's left me and I don't really have anything, like, to do.
The
like,
air conditioner is broken. So
other than to go to AMC and use my AMC A list and just, like, get a super large Coke and then sit down and drink the Coke and then go back out and get more Coke and be ashamed. This is the only time I would ever see that. This is like a typical, like, FX on, like, a 2:00 on a Friday night. 2:00 on a Friday night. That's the time that this is on. That's even a time. 2:00 on a Friday night.
In, like, the morning. Like, you're watching X-Men. Like, let's say you're watching X-Men 2, and then you fall asleep, and you wake up, and Angel Has Fallen is on FX now at 2 in the morning.
That's probably the only time I see this. Skip it. We're ending the summer on a bad note, and this is because I gave Men in Black a see it. I'm going to give Angel Has Fallen a hard skip it.
You used up your liberal C's, and now this has to be a skip.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this movie. Sorry, Gerard Butler. You seem like a lovely man, but no, thank you.
That ends our summer. The next movie coming up that is September 6th, which is It 2, and that will be part of our fall preview.
Oh my God, yeah, and especially because that feels like, okay, we're getting ready for Halloween. We're gonna start having some potentially good scary movies come out now.
Yep.
Ooh, I'm so excited. That's my favorite time of the year. Football's back. It gets, like, cool out in New England. People start putting Halloween decorations up. It's just, man. Anyways, we'll talk more about that on our fall preview.
So, that's the summer. That's the summer of 2019 that we have to look forward to.
Absolutely. So, Dylan, each week we try to get a segment that we can pop out in its own YouTube video. So this week, I think it would be good if we kind of give our predictions on which of these movies that we just said, see or skip, will make the most money at the box office.
Sure. Why don't you go first?
All right. So I think for me, it really comes down to the 3 Disney movies, probably unsurprisingly. Lion King, Spider-Man, and Toy Story 4. I think Toy Story 4 was the one I looked at initially where I was like, oh yeah, that's going to make so much money. But the more I think about it, I think coming off of Endgame, people loved that so much. People love Spider-Man in general, as we discussed on this podcast. I have to say, I think Spider-Man Far From Home is going to make similar to like Captain Marvel money. You know, that kind of a range. I think it made like 600-ish for Homecoming. I think it'll probably like double that for Far From Home. So for me, I think Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be the breakout hit of this summer season.
Okay, I'm actually going to go with Lion King. I think Lion King has the potential to break 2 billion. I can see that this being a movie where people are going to go multiple times. They're going to go once by themselves, once with the kids.
That makes sense for sure.
Something like that. I'm hard going with Lion King. Like I think that Lion King has potential to. It's not going to catch something like Avatar or Endgame or Titanic. I think it's going to be something that's going to catch maybe like Infinity War. Like around like that range of the movies. I think it's probably going to be like a top 10 all-time box office maker. That's a tough set. Lion King for sure. That's going to be a movie where people from all generations going to see it. You're going to get people that are new to movies. They're going to go see it just because, I've heard Lion King. Sure. You're going to get people that was their favorite movie as a kid and they still watch it. You're going to get people like me where my kid now watches Lion King and I've seen Lion King, the animated movie, pretty much like once a week for the past year. So
this is going to be a big one.
Yeah. I think even bigger than Toy Story, because Toy Story, I think Toy Story, you'll get like that weird group of people where like they don't want to go see this in the movie theater because it's a kids movie, so they'll wait for like to be able to rent it at home or something like that. Where Lion King, I think Lion King like is going to be a massive movie. The thing that it always matters is how will it do overseas, mainly in like countries like China is what really affects their total gross like this. Right. And that's kind of things like Star Wars. I think Star Wars beat Avatar and Infinity War both in the U.S. Like I could be wrong. I think maybe Endgame might have passed Force Awakens. I could be wrong because I think Force Awakens made like a shitload of money in the U.S. And the problem with Star Wars is that Star Wars really does not have that big of a fandom over in countries like Japan and China.
Yeah, it's so funny. China doesn't give a shit about Star Wars.
No, and so like imagine a movie like Force Awakens having the audience. Force Awakens, if they had the Chinese audience, would have Endgame and Avatar wouldn't even be close.
Right.
And so I guess I don't know how Lion King does in countries like China. I don't know how Disney as a whole does in countries like China because China's weird with their censorship and all that. So I don't really know how all that works. But if this movie does well in China, this movie's gonna make probably close to like $2 billion. Like and like looking at when it comes out before, you have to look at this too, of like where these movies are placed. So coming out before Lion King, you have Spider-Man, which comes out 17 days before Lion King.
Yeah, they gave it a good like room to breathe, I guess would be the best way to put it.
And then you have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming out a week after. And the thing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is odds are you're not going to get the kids audience going in and seeing a Tarantino movie. So, and really before Lion King, like Disney knows what they're doing. They're not dumb. Before Lion King, Toy Story 4 comes out on June 21st. So there's relatively almost an entire month that Toy Story has to run its course for people then to be able to go see Spider-Man and then be able to go see Lion King. So I think Lion King, and then after that, because after Lion King, there's also going to be there's nothing. There's Hobbs and Shaw after that. There's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I don't think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to take any money away from Lion King.
Right.
Lion King is going to be, I'm quoting here, a $2 billion movie.
Hey, I can see that. I think you're totally right with their spacing of stuff for Disney, because like they had Aladdin, and then like literally like a month later Toy Story, then literally a month later Lion King, and then same deal with Infinity War and Spider-Man. You know, they do a good job at not getting in their own way and still producing movies that people are going to see. And I think a really big thing is Beyonce being in this movie. I think that is huge. I think she has one of the most dedicated fan bases in like the world.
Yep.
And they're going to come out for this in force.
I actually think an interesting battle is going to end up being, does Lion King beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on its opening weekend?
Right.
Which I really think it could. I really think that Lion King's going to have that 1 to 3 week span where it's going to be the number one movie. But if it beats Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's probably the number one movie for up until Hobbs and Shaw comes out, because you're going to get the people that are so dedicated to those Fast and Furious movies to go out and see that.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, $2 billion. I'm setting like the goal at that. I think they hit that, and Disney and it's soon. They already pretty much do. They're gonna own the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no doubt.
Like Disney has to do something with this money.
Mm-hmm. Disney, we're for sale. You know, if you want to give us like a cool $500 million, whatever, you can own the podcast. It's fine. We'll work for you.
Just like the remainder of the year, what Disney has, and this is just off the top of my head, and I'm probably gonna end up forgetting one. Mm-hmm. So Disney obviously has Toy Story 4. They then have Spider-Man: Far From Home. They then have Lion King, and then after that, I'm probably skipping a movie. After that, they have Frozen 2, which the trailer came out today, and I thought it looked awesome. Big Frozen guy. And then they're gonna have Star Wars in December, and like I said, there's probably a movie or two that I'm skipping in between, but. Yeah, this has to be a record year for Disney.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what their final draw is. Now that you're mentioning it, this is ridiculous.
It has to be over $10 billion. It has to be.
Yeah, because we had Captain Marvel and Endgame.
I feel like 10 billion is probably being super low too. Like it has to. I don't even know. It's just in between that and then having Disney Plus come out in November too. Disney is here, and like people are like, it's probably not great to have one company centralized to all the movies we see, but there's, as the viewer, has there really been anything that's like skewed me away from liking it? Right. Because the movies that have come out, Endgame, Infinity War, Force Awakens, even fucking Last Jedi, like it's better than most other movies, even though we hated Last Jedi.
Right.
Rogue One, which was great. Solo, which I think we both liked Solo, didn't we?
I like it.
Black Panther, Thor, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man. Like it's just like so far I haven't seen anything bad. I'm now very much looking forward to see what Kevin Feige and Disney does with things like X-Men and Fantastic Four.
It's like, by the way, they're gonna get X-Men now.
Clearly, X-Men is awful. Yeah, like I heard it was somehow it's not as bad as X-Men Origins Wolverine, which that movie was awful. But yeah, so to me it's not bad. Disney's been doing everything right, so I'm actually glad that Disney has all this power now. Right. The one property I'm really worried about is Indiana Jones, because I don't know how an 80-year-old Harrison Ford is going to play Indiana Jones, but it's
gonna be awesome. Wasn't that like the only way they convinced him to come back for Force Awakens was to let him do another Indiana Jones?
I think so. Yeah, because that's Harrison Ford's favorite franchise is Indiana Jones by far.
Why wouldn't it be?
He fucking hates Star Wars.
Oh man. All right, Dylan. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we end this episode?
No. Obviously for me, and you're gonna touch up on it in a second. Just check out Wicked Good Everything on YouTube. Thanks for listening to us, all 5 of you, including Grandma and Brian Wog. Shout out Brian Wog and Grandma.
Yeah. And to anyone new, though, where can they find you online?
I'm at DJ Cleverlang on Twitter. Mm-hmm. That's the only place you have to follow me. I just yell all day. I sit, and even when I'm at work, I find something to yell about. Mm-hmm. I say fucking a lot, and I say it on this podcast too. 2019.
Right. This is not a, not explicit. When I upload the episode, I make sure I click that explicit tag so no one gets mad at us.
Exactly.
Yeah, so for me, you can obviously subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/wickedeverything. Follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/wickedeverything, on Instagram at wickedeverything, on Twitter at WGEverything. You can look us up on Facebook. It's, who uses Facebook now, am I right? God, I still use Facebook a lot. And you can follow me at the fake BMR. That's BMARR. We got a lot of cool stuff coming on the channel. I'm almost, you know how Thanos was trying to get the Infinity Stones? I'm trying to get my podcast trifecta in order, which started with this show. Then Better Radio, we have an episode of that. Go check that out. And then
shout out Better Radio. Good show.
Thank you. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast is the third Infinity podcast that I want to put together. And then, we'll end up ruling the world. We'll end up ruling the podcasting waves. Joe Rogan, we're coming right for you. So with that, thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you guys. I love you. I love you. Shout out Brian Wong. Love you too, buddy.
Brian Wong, the real one.
Shout out Brian Wong. We just got AC back in the office. Brian Wong. They're painting the office today, killing everybody with fumes.
Oh, Jesus.
Not Brian Wong, though. They didn't get Brian Wong.
Good. I'm glad. Bye, guys.